The Property Lane.
Welcome to the Property Lane, where it's everything real estate. Dear viewers, we continue our discussion on property management. Yes, due to public demand, we had to do another. And this time we wanted to learn more on the different kinds of agency in property management. My name is Catherine Nanteza, and I'm your host tonight. And we continue this discussion with none other than Mr. Lutalo Moses, who is also MRICS and the MD of Brol Uganda Limited. Say hi to the viewers.
Thank you, Catherine. Hello, our viewers. Moses Lutalo is my name. I'm a chartered property surveyor. Also the managing director, Brol Uganda Limited. Brol is a real estate services company with presence in 14 African countries.
Moses, how does MRICS relate to property management? Because now you're talking surveyor.
Yes, every time you see someone called a chartered surveyor, they normally put initials of MRICS, meaning you're a member of the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. So you've
Where is that, by the way?
In UK, you've earned that charter. Lightly putting it, it's like the SCCA of property professionals and cuts across all fields, whether you're valuation surveyor, quantity surveyor, commercial property surveyor, environmental surveyor, urban surveyor, and many other professionals within that.
Do we have many of those here in Uganda? Because I know we don't have a law yet.
Not many, not many, but I think recently there are a lot more people getting registered.
Okay.
Previously, it used to be the older people, but now, I mean, with information available and market improving, it's becoming, I think we have maybe shy of about 35 chartered surveyors across all fields in Uganda.
Yeah, Moses, last time we had an interesting discussion on property management. And so we left off with some unfinished business. We want to continue from where we left off. You had given us a very detailed explanation on managing commercial and managing retail. I want us to continue from there, because I know dealing with those two, commercial and retail, they are very complex kind of management services. I've heard of something called occupier representative or tenant representative. Could you take us through more about that?
Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah.
I think what our audience needs to know that occupier representation or tenant representation or tenant rep, like we call it interchangeably, is all about representing purely the interests of the occupier. Now, if you put into context, when you're dealing with property management, most of the time you're representing the landlord. It's the landlord agenda because the landlord effectively pays you.
Okay.
Now, with occupier representation, the occupier is the one who pays you. You have no business getting paid by the landlord. And increasingly, we are seeing occupiers...
An emphasis on that.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, we are used to the landlord being the one paying. And now you're saying it's the tenant. What would motivate a tenant to hire a representative?
So, a couple of things. One, global companies, the big occupiers, the multinationals, the telecoms, the oil and gas guys, even banking sector, insurance companies, when they go to markets like Uganda and they want to maybe get a new head office, they don't go to the market themselves.
Okay.
The assumption is that they will appoint an occupier representative who will be able to go out there, come up with options for them, negotiate the leases, the deals for them.
Okay.
And after that, that person or the agent or the representative will be paid. So, and when they look at relocating premises, getting head offices, it's not just the space. There's a lot more other factors they look at. Occupation health, location, mapping out where the staff are going to live. They want a business case on if we're relocating, what does it mean for our P&L? So professionals like us now will sit down and develop a comprehensive business plan to be able to be presented to their governance bodies and make a decision. So it's not just a report of saying there's a location in Kololo Nakasero building XYZ.
What happens these days? I mean, I see brokers running all over looking for space in different locations. So you're talking of writing a proposal.
Yeah,
Ah.
actually, it's not a proposal, it's a report, and that report tends to be robust. It will factor in which space are you taking for, what size of space, where is it located, what are the rentals, what are the escalations, what are the moving costs, how much space do we need, is it the optimal space? So there's a whole go versus stay analysis report that we tend to do and offer multinationals. So that if I'm telling you I'm moving from location A to location B, I've pretty much factored in all the underlying aspects. So that if there's a CEO who is making a decision, knows, okay, by me moving from this building to the other, I'm saving so much. This is where my cost is. This is what it means to my P&L. That's what it means.
Wow.
So that service is increasingly becoming more demanded.
Do we have those here in Uganda?
Absolutely.
Is there a training for it?
Well, in terms of training, I think there's one course being offered at Real Estate of East Africa, Real Estate Institute of East Africa.
Oh,
yeah, they're
okay.
offering what they call corporate real estate.
Oh.
So corporate real estate is part of occupier representation.
Okay.
Because you're dealing with the occupier of the space internally. How do they want it? So there's an offering, but I think I would encourage more universities to come up, or training institutions to come up with, more content around that.
Because recently, last year actually, we had a training in the accredited buyers representative, which is also an NAR course, like the National Association of Realtors. I don't know if they have the occupier representative, but we can check and see. I think that is something we need to delve into, because agents are crowding on small services. Like, we are all into sales and just mere rentals, yet there is so much one can do. I think what you're talking about is asking us to delve deeper, to make waves.
Yeah, but also related to that, so it's not just that. It could be a scenario where, 4 tenants in a given building, their leases are coming up as an agent.
Okay.
And you can negotiate on their behalf renewals. So, and at times, our payment is pegged on the savings that you're offering the occupier. So if I came to you and your bank and you're paying $10,000 a month in rent, and I renegotiate your lease to $6,000 a month.
How do you do that?
Because to be able to do that, one, you must have the industry knowledge.
Okay.
You must know the practice, you must know where the market is, so you must have your information. Because when you go to the landlord or the property manager on the other side, they are armed with all this information. So you need to be able to look through the lease document and say, okay, the escalation is high, maybe the service charge is high. So you're negotiating a deal.
Are you only negotiating the price, or you're negotiating the amenities, the services? Are you also working on their complaints and all that?
Everything. Because when you're looking at a lease document for tenants, for big occupier, all these things are in there. Operating expenses, fit out, allowances, escalations, everything is in there. So what normally happens, occupiers will tell you, okay, I'll pay you a base fee of X amount of money and a percentage of the savings you're giving me. So that's what makes it attractive. And that's why agents out there should explore this as a way of, earning extra income.
But Moses, how do we get such clients? Because you've talked of you can walk into a building.
Yes.
I mean, how possible is that?
Again, as an agent or as any professional out there, one, you must have the knowledge, the understanding. Two, you must be well networked. Three, you must be able to demonstrate value you bring on the table. Because the organization will ask you, what if my procurement manager went and met a landlord? But remember, the procurement manager is not a real estate expert.
Okay.
So you have to be knowledgeable. You have to have sort of expert knowledge in what you're trying to do. And most times you find that someone who negotiates commercial leases is not the same person who's got to negotiate a retail lease.
Could the problem be that we are having it all in one person? Like we are doing almost everything as agents. We want to be the buyer's representative, the tenant's representative. We also want to be the property manager. At the same time, we are doing the sales. And then, man, is that where the problem is?
Yeah, I think just to reiterate what I'd said, because our market is still so young and just improving, there's a tendency to want to be a jack of all trades. Now, our industry works on specializing.
Okay.
I'll wake up and say, I'm a good retail leasing agent. I'm a good commercial agent. I'm a good occupier representative. I'm a good residential broker. I'm a good property manager. Now, the skills you need to do all that can be the same, but they're unique in a way. When you're on the landlord side and you're property manager, you're literally holding the whip to the tenants. When you're representing an occupier, you're going out there and trying to undo what a property manager has done in terms of negotiation. So the skills are different, and I think our audience or people in this business need to start now sort of specializing so that you don't be a jack of all trades, because then you get preoccupied by learning about how do I represent, for example, a big occupier. What are the things I look out for? Because in their mind, they know if I appoint this guy, there has to be value I bring on the table. If it's just the least negotiate, then what? You know, there has to be something over and above you bringing, which is the expert knowledge, which is the, you know, sector-specific knowledge that you have.
And as someone who has experience in that, I mean, you brought to Uganda, literally. What can you tell us from your personal experience and now advising the brokers out there or the agents out there? How can we specialize? What makes one decide that this is what I should be doing?
Yeah, I think using a personal experience, you need to have experienced almost everything we do as a profession. So when you do that, then you realize, what is it that I like most? Is it, you know, representing occupiers? Is it property management? Is it facilities management? So once you identify that, then you get preoccupied by building your capacity in that specific space. But I'm yet to find a real estate professional who can do all these things well. I'm yet to find someone.
No, you can go crazy.
We can't pretend to do everything, but even with 18 years of doing this, I can sit back and say my specialty is this. I want to do maybe advisory work. I want to do feasibility studies. You know, I want to do occupier representation. You know, so you need to know what is that thing you can wake up at 2 a.m. in the night and do without anyone waking you up. That's what they need to find out.
That you are passionate about and can do so easily. Dear viewers, we are taking a very short break, and when we come back, Moses is going to take us through the different aspects and what one can choose from. You know, we tend to be limited. And he has mentioned quite a number. He has mentioned advisory and all that. He will be giving us that list. Don't move. We will be back. Welcome back from that very brief break. Once again, my name is Catherine Nanteza, and today we are looking at the occupier representation or the tenant representative as an agent. And we are looking, we've delved deeper into that before we took the break. Moses is a very close friend of the property lane, and he's always with us, was taking us through as an agent. What else can you do? Moses, can we start from there? And as we talk about that, we would also like to look at ethics and integrity in this business. What can you do and what can you not do? Especially as an occupier representative or as a tenant representative. Ethically, what can you do and not do? What are the laws governing that kind of a relationship? But before we go into that, give us a list. I know people are crowding on one thing.
Yes. I think the one thing as professionals we need to know that our industry is so broad. It has so many facets, and you can choose to do anything among several of these. You can choose to be a commercial property manager, a residential property manager, a facilities manager, an occupier representative, a broker. You can choose to be, you know, condition audit surveyor. You can choose to be a commercial property surveyor. So you can do all those things and choose and say, okay, I've gone through all this, but this is my specialty. So to the audience out there, especially the people who are doing this business, don't be limited to what you see us doing in this market. Try to interest yourself. What is happening in other markets, in the US, in the UK, in South Africa, in Ghana, in Nigeria? Because the profession is so broad that, you know, you can choose any of those and become, you know, an expert at it and, you know, just specialize in that. So for me, that's important, that people need to be aware of the possibilities within.
And talking about possibilities, I remember when I just began real estate, I received a call from someone from Nairobi who was moving into Uganda, and they were asking me, don't you have professional movers? Because I don't want to be the one to go through that hassle. I just want to move into Uganda and enter my house and everything is where it's supposed to be. I mean, they come, do the packing, take to Uganda, unpack, set up the house the way I want it to, and we just move and settle. Are those some of the things you do as an occupier representative?
Absolutely, absolutely. Actually, if you look at the broader sense of occupier representation, starts with identifying the space, designing the space, being able to facilitate moving in of the tenant into that space, and in some cases, staying in as a facilities manager for that space for them. Because remember, again, multinational occupiers are not preoccupied with who is cleaning my office, who is moving this chair, who has bought tea. No, they outsource all that so that they can focus on their core business.
Are you, as an occupier's representative, managing all those people?
Well, I can say the clients in Uganda were offering all that service.
Wow.
Multinationals.
Okay.
Yeah, so when you get involved in that, you negotiate the lease, you even design, fit out the space for them, facilitate that they move in, and you stay in as a facilities manager, integrated facilities manager. So that's the scope. But just to draw your attention on the legalities and the ethical conduct around that, our viewers need to know that the difference between being an occupier or tenant representation and a landlord representation is who pays you. When you're dealing with the occupier, it's the occupier who pays you. If your instructions are coming from the landlord, it's the landlord who pays you. So your duty of care is what draws the line between being ethical
what
and
if they
being...
both want to pay me? I mean...
Well, if both of them wanted to pay you, one, there has to be disclosure to both parties.
Okay.
So what you don't want is a scenario where there's rip-off of some sorts for both. So
as in you're not supposed to receive any money from either of them without the other knowing.
Knowing, exactly. That's very important. And it's the underlying thing in our business when it comes to agency, broking and all that. So we need to be able to tell, okay, in this transaction, I'm being paid by the property owner or the property occupier who's renting it. Okay. And usually, even the agreements you have with them are very clear. They'll say, okay, we'll pay you 1 month's rent for your services. But if, they say the landlord will pay you, but if the landlord doesn't pay you, we'll pay you. So if there are those, it's already known. And you can always, have that conversation.
Is there a scenario, especially now for Brawl, like, is there a scenario where you find that you were already the property manager and you got this big multinational corporation that still wants you to be the occupier representation?
No, it can't happen. And even if we did, I think we would excuse ourselves from that transaction, because you can't be a property manager in a building and also be the occupier representative, because now you're negotiating against yourself. Okay. So that doesn't work. So in scenarios where we've had our occupiers in a building we manage, we've, declined that work and said no.
Have they actually come to ask?
Yes, they do. Because someone will come and say, I'm renewing my lease, but you're the property manager and you're managing the building. No, you can't. So you tell them, no, speak to any other person to represent you in this. Okay. Yeah.
What else do we need to look out for ethically when dealing with this?
Because our laws with regards to real estate are not yet that robust, thankfully the real estate bill is in the making. Okay. We hope some of these things can be accommodated. But in the absence of that, there's common law, there are, other laws, contracting law, agency, that will follow. But for real estate specifically, the ethical grounds on which you operate are very important. Okay. Yeah, so you have to make sure there's disclosure. You can't act for both parties, and you can't pick, fees from either. From both of them.
Is that an annual fee, by the way, or is it a one-off?
For occupier representation, it's a one-off. It's a one-off. Okay. Or transaction-based. Take an example. I represent a bank that has maybe 30 branches in Uganda and maybe 100 ATMs. Okay. So every time an ATM comes up for renewal and I can negotiate, we'll have agreed a rate. I'll pay you for every negotiation, I'll pay you this. New acquisition, I'll pay you this. Then if it is a disposal, I'll pay you a percentage.
Oh, you also help them with that?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So it's something that's coming out, and I think professionals need to look out for that, because
shouldn't that be a monthly fee? Because there's, or at least by annual fee, because there is something happening all the time. Maybe the service provider you got has an issue. Maybe, you know, I would think just like a property manager, a developer needs a property manager constant on the ground. There should be something like that for such a multinational corporation or such a big client as a tenant.
Usually what would happen if the occupier representation has translated into integrated facilities management, then it's a retainer.
Oh, so then it becomes a facilities management.
Integrated FA.
Maybe you need to explain a bit deeper there. Is facilities management for things like industrial areas or equipment and whatnot, or it also works for such buildings?
I mean, facilities management is all about how best you can optimize the space in the most effective way, which factors in health and safety and efficiency. So whether you have...
No matter where it is.
Whether it is machines or buildings, because when you talk about facilities management, people think about factories.
Okay.
But have you ever imagined in your office space where you operate, who collects garbage, who presents the teas, who cleans the office, who fumigates it, who, you know, all that. When you want to, you know, move that design and say, we want to create an office here, who does that? So that's all part of facilities management.
Okay.
Some it even goes to who presents the meals that we eat. You know, all that is in the background. So it's everything that is not the core business of that occupier. So if my core business is banking, I have no business knowing who my receptionist is, who my cleaners are, who my, you know, all that I don't want to know. All I want is when my customers walk into my reception, it's clean, the flowers, when they want coffees available, when the staff wants to change their chair, someone is there to do it, the place is clean, it is safe.
So that is facility management. And that is not property management. You know, there is a thin line between the two of them. Yeah. So you're saying that occupier representation finally translates to facilities management once the tenant wants you to do all those things.
Yes.
And that has a different kind of agreement?
Yes, it would. So maybe for the viewers to understand the difference between property management and facilities management, property management rotates around collecting rent.
Only,
and getting paid a percentage of collections. Facilities management, you agree a flat fee.
Okay.
Yes.
That you'll be paying me $2M per month or something.
Yes, yeah,
ah, okay. Yeah. All right. Moses, as we come to the end of the show, is there anything else you would love to tell our viewers?
I think for me, the industry is at a very exciting stage. We have new players in the market, more professionals in the market. We need to explore the possibilities in this industry. Let's not be, you know, fixed in a particular box. Let's dream. Let's do things for as long as there's a guideline globally that is followed in a particular service. There's no reason why you can't offer it in Uganda. So for me, I call upon all the players in the sector. Let's be open. Let's, you know, encourage the young people to take up these challenges and expose them to all what the industry has to offer. Well,
thank you so much, Moses, for such very, very informative and they're good insights. But what I also pick is for the universities that are offering real estate, I think the curriculum just keeps getting broader and broader. Also for the Real Estate Institute of East Africa and Global Institute also, there is so much that we need to explore. And we just need to look at a house and break it into the different needs and then specialize in all those different needs. You really gave us a list. There is no reason as to why anyone should remain unemployed because we haven't even gone to the backyard yet. We haven't talked about interior designing. We've talked about moving. There is so much to discover. And if you want to learn more about real estate, stay tuned on the Property Lane every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. on UBC, and you will get to understand and get to know what's happening in the real estate spaces. Otherwise, from my crew and myself and from Moses, see you next time.
The Property Lane.